Hi, we're going to go over how to calculate confidence intervals now using a t-score. So remember, we're using t-scores because we don't know our population standard deviation, our sigma. So we're going to use a formula that's similar to what we saw before, but it's slightly different. So our confidence interval will be found by taking x bar plus or minus t times s of x bar. X bar is still our point estimate. T times S of X bar is still called a margin of error, but it's a t-score instead of a z-score, and we don't have a population standard deviation of X bar, we have a sample standard deviation of X bar, which is found by taking S over the square root of n. That is the standard deviation of the sample divided by the square root of the sample size. So again, our margin of error is still what we're adding and subtracting. So here's that problem I showed you earlier. We're trying to estimate the mean cholesterol level for all adult men in Hartford, Connecticut. We've got a sample of 25 men, and this sample has a mean level of 186 with a standard deviation of 12. We are to make a 95% confidence interval for our population mean. That is the cholesterol level for all men. So here's our information. And we start off with our 95% in the middle, and 100% minus 95% is 5%, which is to be split evenly between the two tails. So our t-score is found by finding the value, the number of standard deviations away from the mean. Now, if you're using Desmos, you're going to use t-dist, and then in the parentheses, you're going to put your degrees of freedom. Remember, degrees of freedom is n minus 1, so it's 24. Dot inverse CDF with your area, or 0.025. If you're using your calculator, you'll do second bars, choice 4, and use inverse T. It's going to ask you for the area, 0.025, and the degrees of freedom, which will be 24. Your t-score is rounded to 3 decimal places. The t-distribution is not as accurate as the z-scores, so we go out 1 more decimal place. Now we just put things where they belong. Our formula is x bar plus or minus t times s over the square root of n. So this gives us 186 plus or minus 4.95, where 4.95 is our margin of error. And so now we have our interval. Our lower bound is 181.05, and our upper bound is 190.95. And what that means is the average cholesterol level is somewhere between 181.05 and 190.95. These confidence intervals do not give you any information about individual cholesterol levels. They only give you information about averages.